When I was younger, I felt like I was kind of an outsider. I was in a fishbowl that wasn't very big, and I was clearly different from everyone else. And I desperately was looking for a community that I felt accepted me for who I was. The schools that I went to in South Dakota academically were very, very strong, and I'm very grateful for the education that I received. However, I was always the minority in my classes, and that was very difficult for me when I was growing up. So, when I got the opportunity to go to college, I wanted to leave South Dakota and I went to Minneapolis. So I was away from home, but not really away from home. And I finished college out in Minneapolis. I went to an art college and studied fashion and marketing, which wasn't an option really in South Dakota at the time. South Dakota is a really great state. We have a really great foundation of people that really care, but I feel like there are missing narratives that aren't being honored and there aren't being represented. And one of those narratives are the Black Americans that live in South Dakota. I love seeing the diverse community now, and I love seeing the immigrant and refugees helping uplift and build the state. But I often feel as though Black people get shadowed um, and not really recognized in the same manner. So I have been intentional with sharing my Black story. And it's anytime I meet somebody, if I go travel to California or if I'm living in LA, they like literally can't believe I'm from South Dakota. They're like, there's Black people in South Dakota. I was like, there are Black people everywhere. But yes, we're out here. So I think it's very important that Black South Dakotans really start sharing their stories so people know that we're here and they understand our plight and the struggle that we still continue to go through to get representation, to get equal pay, to get equal job opportunities and things like that. So I thought it was super important to share my story, and I don't often get that opportunity. South Dakota is a really great state. We have a really great foundation of people that really care, but I feel like there are missing narratives that aren't being honored and there aren't being represented. And one of those narratives are the Black Americans that live in South Dakota. I love seeing the diverse community now, and I love seeing the immigrant and refugees helping uplift and build the state. But I often feel as though Black people get shadowed um, and not really recognized in the same manner. So I have been intentional with sharing my Black story. Um, I like to kind of put all the cards on the table and not try to pretend like something didn't happen. I would rather discuss it and see what the next steps are moving forward. But a lot of the times, we're not even acknowledging our history and our past. And being a Black American, that's really hard to deal with on a consistent basis, to the point where we had to build our own school in order to get adequate education to our students because the conversation wasn't received and there was no movement towards creating more equitable options for education. So I think that the people in power really have to open their hearts and their ears. I'm not trying to point the finger at people and blame them about things that happened 200 years ago, but I would like it to be acknowledged and talked about. And I feel like there's a lot of reverence that needs to go on. I think that there's a lot of monuments and a lot of ancestors that need to be recognized so we can move on and heal and grow. I think the co-founders all had their own objective on why they wanted to start ACE Academy. Mine personally was to create a safe environment for kids that are diverse. One memory that I'll never forget happened in first grade. I went to Christ the King school, so I went to a private school, and we were gearing up for our first communion, and we were creating a picture book for some elderly people at a nursing home. And I had just left a family reunion from my stepdad, who was a Black man in Des Moines. And it was one of my first like full Black experiences. So I was just enamored and like just full of like culture and self-love. And I came back to school and was just very happy. And one thing about the family reunion, I stayed at my grandma's house, and she had about 15 Black Jesus images on her walls. Like, she loved Black Jesus. So I just thought that I'd never seen that before. I thought it was just so incredible, the imagery that I was seeing. So I went back to school. We're doing our little photo book to send off to the nursing homes. And of course, I'm a first grader. I start coloring my Jesus Black. I just felt really empowered by that. And I got done with my book and I was ready to hand it in. And I went and showed my teacher, and she stopped me and she said, you know, we can't send this to the nursing home. They're like, this is not what Jesus looks like. And I just remember at that moment, I was just devastated. And I went back home and I told my stepdad, and he came back and he lit the school up. But it was something that I was just very emotional about, and it affected me all the way up until my adulthood. And I just remember like never wanting my kids or another child to experience that type of feeling that I had. And I would like the community to know that I am pouring my heart and soul into the adolescents that I have contact with, to instill things that were missing in me as a child, because there's reciprocity and there is a rippling effect to what we are doing. If I am able to teach a child to manage their anxiety through breath work, or teach them positive self-talk or affirmations that they can use until they're 80 years old, that has been the true joy of my life.